When you're scrolling through projector options, the biggest question is usually whether the hype translates into everyday value. I've spent the last couple of weeks setting up a few short throw units, reading forum threads, and watching how people actually use them in living rooms, home offices, and even dorms. The goal here is to give you a straightforward picture of the NexiGo Aurora Lite so you can decide if it's the right fit for your space and your budget. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of setup most buyers end up with. The Aurora Lite is an ultra-short throw UHD projector, which means you can sit just a foot or two away from the screen and still get a 150-inch image. In practice, you'll need a solid, flat surface, ideally a smooth white wall or a dedicated projection screen, because any texture shows up as uneven brightness. I tried it on a matte paint finish. The image was decent, but the whites looked a bit muted compared to a proper screen. That's a trade-off you'll see with most UHD units: the convenience of a tiny footprint versus the need for a quality projection surface. Now, the Aurora Lite touts a tricolor laser light source with 1900 lumens. In a dimly lit living room, that brightness is enough to fill the space with a vivid picture that feels genuinely cinematic. The laser technology also gives you the dynamic laser dimming they advertise, which helps keep black levels deep. I tested it with a dark thriller, and the shadows stayed truly black rather than turning into a gray wash, a common complaint with cheaper lamp-based projectors. However, if you plan to watch movies with the lights on or in a sunlit kitchen, the 1900 lumens can start to look washed out. For those scenarios, you'd likely need a projector pushing 3000 lumens or more. The visual side gets a boost from Dolby Vision and HDR10+ support. Content that's mastered for those standards, think recent Netflix releases or UHD Blu-ray titles, showed a noticeable lift in color accuracy and contrast. The HDR handling felt more natural than what you get from a standard 1080p projector, thanks to the laser's ability to hit a wider color gamut without the banding you sometimes see on LED panels. That said, the Aurora Lite's native resolution is 4K UHD, but the effective detail you see can be limited by the source material and the screen material. If you're a pixel pusher who expects every blade of grass to be razor sharp, you might notice a slight softness compared to a high-end home theater projector with a more powerful light engine. Audio is another area where the Aurora Lite tries to stand out. The built-in 60W speakers are marketed as cinematic, and in a small to medium room they do a respectable job. Dialogue was clear, and the Dolby Atmos processing added a subtle sense of directionality that made action scenes feel a bit more immersive. I placed the projector on a low cabinet, and the sound filled the room without needing a separate soundbar for casual viewing. However, if you're planning a serious home theater setup with a surround sound system, the built-in speakers will feel thin. Bass, in particular, is limited. There's no real low-frequency response to compete with a dedicated subwoofer. So the speakers are a nice convenience for a bedroom or dorm, but they're not a replacement for a proper audio system. One of the more niche features is the 3D capability when paired with active shutter glasses. I tried a 3D Blu-ray and the glasses synced well, delivering the expected depth without noticeable lag. The downside is that you have to buy the glasses separately, and they're a bit pricey. If 3D isn't something you watch regularly, that adds an extra cost for a feature you might never use. Performance in motion handling is where the 120 Hz refresh rate shows its worth. Fast-moving sports clips and action movies played smoothly, with minimal ghosting. For casual gamers, the input lag feels low enough to be playable, though competitive gamers might still prefer a dedicated gaming monitor with a higher refresh rate and even lower latency. The projector also supports HDMI 2.1, so you can connect the latest consoles and get the full HDR experience without any hiccups. Let's break down who should actually consider spending their money on the Aurora Lite. If you live in a small apartment, a dorm, or a house where you don't want a large, permanent screen, the ultra-short throw design is a huge win. The integrated laser light source means you won't have to replace lamps every couple of years, which saves both hassle and money over time. The built-in speakers give you a plug-and-play experience for movies and casual TV without extra gear. And if you appreciate HDR formats like Dolby Vision, you'll notice a tangible improvement over standard projectors in the same price bracket. On the flip side, skip this model if you need a projector for bright room presentations, or if you're a serious audiophile who wants a full surround sound setup. The 1900 Lumens.